was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan and
Jen Dice.
Let me know if you could hear us. Let me know if you can see us. We are in the house, Status Quo, United Corporations of America, and a special edition, United Cops of America, because what we're seeing around the country is just absolutely reprehensible, if you ask me. And Jen's incident in D.C. last week, where she was accosted by police, there's developments on that end too. So, how you feeling today, Jen?
I'm okay. I'm healing up. My bruises are starting to turn that color of like a weird yellow green that they tend to turn. But you know, all this happened on last Saturday, so I'm healing up. I'm raring to go back out there. I really wish I could right away because I'm feeling better. I want to get out there and report.
Well, right before we went live, I have a makeshift tourniquet on my arm.
A tourniquet.
I think I cut up my arm yesterday during the protest, and I don't know, it started bleeding profusely. So, anyway, couple housekeeping notes. Right now there is, I believe, several thousand people, protesters in New York City crossing the Brooklyn Bridge. I am not out with them. Unfortunately, although my ego would like to say that I'm superhuman, I have had 2 back surgeries in the last 2.5 years. And the last 2 days of between, what's today, Thursday? Between Tuesday and Wednesday, I probably walked 150 blocks and avenues in New York City to bring you, the members of the community, protests. Not to extol my virtues, but my back has locked up. So considering this is it seems going to be a long-lasting protest movement, I need to, you got to pace yourself. So I'm not going out today. I am going to try to go back out tomorrow. Jen will be trying to go back to D.C. this weekend. So we would love to be out there every day, but the true nature is between Tuesday and Wednesday, protests start all the way downtown. They're working all the way up to, uptown Manhattan. And yesterday in particular, I was live pretty much for 5 straight hours. So hopefully we could, we're still going to cover things even if we're in the field, but we will be there tomorrow. Is that okay with you, Jen?
Absolutely.
I know you're hard on me. You want me out there.
No. Obviously I wish we could have cameras everywhere. I wish we could be reporting, but obviously I'm worried about your back and and also Jamal walking with that equipment and stuff. So we have to pace ourselves for sure. And yeah, you're good. You're good. You need to heal up.
One of the things we're trying to do is we're trying to get freelancers in other cities, other journalists to broadcast for us. We had a freelancer in Minneapolis. We've had people in LA. Obviously, Jen in DC. So for days that we can't go out, we're going to try and show protest around the country. That costs money. Obviously, we have to pay people. So we'll talk about our GoFundMe in a little bit. We already have 350 people, which is awesome. So if you haven't pressed the like button, please smash that like button. It's right under the video. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this very live stream. We're also at 1,815 members, so we've gone up, I think, like 30 to 40 members over the last couple days. So shows you when you're in the trenches, when you're in the field, people want to support that. So join us at statuscoup.com/join. I think we're going to do our monthly members call next week. So if you become a member before next week, you will get on our members call. By the way, Jen, I usually joke the CIA is listening since it's in through Zoom, but now new reports are coming out that actually the CIA is listening through Zoom. So we'll have to have a particularly entertaining Zoom call with our members next week since the CIA is now, and FBI, are now surveilling. Right. Right. All right. So let's get to it. By the way, again, press that like button. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see the live stream. Also, we are live on Twitter at Status Coup. I think we're like marching on right now. I think we're almost at 37,000 Twitter followers. Hopefully we can get to 40,000 before you know it. We're live on Twitch too, twitch.tv/Status Coup. And if you're new, make sure you subscribe to this channel and because I'm not, and if you're new, make sure you join our email list by going to statuscoup.com, enter your email there. So Jen, before I go down the list of horrible police behavior, I would like to play a clip that I think is more positive. That I think is a little bit more positive. Because we have a lot of negative today. I want to show you this clip from a protest that I covered last night in New York City. It started out as a sit-in, and it then turned into, a march. By the way, this is a super chat, so keep it coming in the super chat. GoFundMe, we'll get into a little bit later, but we did raise our GoFundMe goal. We'll explain to you later why. So we are now at $107,080 and raised it to $120,000. So we raised it by $10,000. We will explain why a little bit later. Don't revolt. We have good reason. But we appreciate super chats as well as GoFundMes. So I want to play this clip, and we'll talk about it after.
Why do you let them kill us?
Why do you let them kill us?
Why are the people you chose to protect the ones killing us?
Why are the people you chose to protect the ones killing us?
Why did I have to write my mom a letter so when I get home, she doesn't think I'm dead?
Why do I have to write my mom letters when I get home so she doesn't think I'm dead?
Why do I have to worry about my family talking about whether I'm dead or not when I get home? They don't know if I'm here. They don't know if I'm fighting. Do you guys hear me?
Yes!
Let's go. I want you to see me.
I see you.
I want you to hear me.
We can hear you.
I don't want to die. Life is good.
Life is good.
I want to live.
I want to live.
Stop letting them kill us.
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 Your police are unjust.
The police are unjust.
They don't protect you. They protect property.
They don't protect you. They protect property.
I am not property.
I am not property.
I'm a man.
I'm a man.
I'm a black man.
I'm a black man.
Don't let them kill me.
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 Thank you.
No, but I watched it yesterday.
Basically, why I wanted to show that was I think a lot of the coverage on corporate media is showing standoffs between the police and protesters. is showing, burnt down vehicles, looting, these kind of things. But I don't particularly see a lot of CNN reporters when I'm marching with protesters, meaning covering peaceful protests. I don't really see those kind of speeches on CNN or MSNBC. I usually see reporters speaking and giving a play-by-play of what's going on in these protests. And I think that people like that gentleman are exactly what this is about. The fact that he has to write his mom a letter before going out, those powerful words, I am not property, if you saw that, Jen. It's just amazingly powerful, and that's truly what this movement should be about. I also think why it's important to show those kind of clips, not just the police brutalizing protesters, because the police are also brutalizing white protesters. It's not just black protesters. But why it's important to show those clips is I think a lot of white people, even good white people who don't consciously think of themselves as racist, don't fully grasp the full nature of black oppression in this country. They know history, but they don't truly get this guy, black people have to alert their parents just when they go out that, they have to ask, why are you looking at me? Why are you surveilling me? Why are you, it would be like us sitting at a table at a restaurant and wondering why are people looking at us like side-eyed? That's the condition that they live in all the time. And I think it's important to show those clips because I think more white people are starting to wake up. Sure, they knew about racism, but when you hear those words from that gentleman and a lot of the other interviews we did, I think it's waking up more white people. I think it's also, I've heard a lot of white people saying I've had to rethink my own thinking over the last week, and I've had to really, I've had some epiphanies. And these are not people that are racist, but just didn't fully understand the full depths of the day-to-day violence against black people. So hopefully people are enjoying that coverage. Thank you, Not Provided, $10 in the super chat. Search for NYPD runs over protesters in broad daylight. Not Provided, you don't have to search for it. I'm about to play it. I'm way ahead of you. Thank you, Not Provided, for the $10. Keep it coming in the super chat. So, Jen, I'm going to play a bit of, first I want to start with this. And we're trying to get in contact with this this gentleman. So here we go. Police have launched a review after a protest captured in a dramatic viral picture told the Sun how cops fired weapons around him and his 2-year-old son, and one officer allegedly threatened to spray tear gas at the little boy. Do you see this images? A 2-year-old has a gun pointed at him by California Long Beach police. A 2-year-old. I mean, this is absolutely reprehensible. This is absolutely reprehensible. What is this police officer thinking? Do you know how traumatizing that would be for a 2-year-old to have a gun pointed in their head? In an exclusive interview on Wednesday, Dante, the boy's father, told how one officer threatened to spray tear gas while others fired bullets right in front of them. And in video footage shared with the Sun, cops could be seen loading weapons and firing bullets all around them, while in another, fellow protesters can be heard begging cops not to gas the child, shouting, "What's the matter with you? You are a monster. You're really going to gas this child? What about your child?" Now, Long Beach Police Department have responded to the claims, labeling them disturbing and pledging to launch a review. In a statement, a spokesperson said, the Long Beach Police Department is aware of this image posted to social media of a crowd control police officer and a man with a child on his shoulder during Sunday's civil unrest. We agree the image is disturbing, and we all share the community's concerns for the safety of the child, the peaceful demonstrators, and the officers. While the review of the incident is underway, we do know that this image was taken at the time that violent disruptors were throwing bottles and pyrotechnics that could cause great bodily injury to anyone in the area. We are reviewing all of the related footage, blah, 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 blah. So, Jen, I'm beginning to see a pattern. Not just with police departments, but with governors, state lawmakers. Thank you for the super chat. JK, Jordan, don't push it too hard. You get one spine. Make sure to get to a doctor, okay? Thank you. I do get one spine. That's why I'm taking a break today. I keep hearing, oh, we're investigating. Oh, we're doing a review. So and so police department is, launched an inquiry into it. All of this is amount to nothing. They're not investigating because they're investigating themselves. That's why more and more people are starting to say, well, we need independent agencies to investigate the police, not the local district attorney who works with the police on a daily basis, trying criminals. But what is there to investigate? Like, yeah, you could look at the video, but the picture is right there. That officer was firing, had a gun pointed at a 2-year-old. Now, some people debated, well, that guy shouldn't bring his 2-year-old to a protest. I don't agree with that. Why shouldn't he bring his 2-year-old to a protest? That very assumption is why America is so messed up. Because people say, well, protests could be dangerous, so don't bring your toddler. Protests aren't supposed to be dangerous. And 95% of these protesters are peaceful all around the country. But I don't think this police department is going to investigate. I think this police department, like Chicago Police Department, like New York Police Department, says words. We've opened a review, an inquiry, a this, a that, and eventually they'll say, oh, we found that, the officer was pointing elsewhere, or that, people were throwing things at the officer. Just throwing out things that nobody could disprove to excuse this behavior. What do you think?
I completely agree. The protest was billed as peaceful. He's bringing his son there because he's under systemic oppression. He wants his son to live in a more just world. Of course he can bring his son to this protest. Of course his son can hold a Black Lives Matter sign or whatever they want to do. That is their right. I really think it was interesting yesterday, Jordan, one of the young men that you interviewed brought up the Stanford prison experiment. So you talk about why are cops aiming this? I don't know what it was exactly, a rubber bullet gun or something, some kind of weapon. Why are they aiming this at a 2-year-old? Why are they aiming this at peaceful protesters at all? And the Stanford prison experiment showed that people who are given roles of power, roles of authority, can easily take on an authoritarian, power-hungry, disgusting, abusive mindset. And that's what these cops are in. And we have these, the people of the streets, the regular people of this country who are dealing with this violence and dealing with this disgusting behavior by police all over the place. And if cameras weren't there to catch this stuff, and typically they aren't. So this happens all the time. And I think you're right. This internal review or whatever it is won't show anything. They'll say, oh, that photo's just a camera angle, which right-wingers are already trying to disprove the photo. Honestly, I don't care about camera angles. What I care about is the fact that at this peaceful protest to this young, Black 2-year-old child, a cop did that, pointed in his direction. It's just abhorrent.
And I want to play, maybe you guys have seen some of these clips elsewhere, but if you haven't, here's some more best hits of what the police have been doing the last few days. that one was in Pennsylvania, where literally a woman was kneeling on the ground. She was on the ground, and a cop just kicked her in the face. That's another one where that local Pennsylvania police department said, oh, yeah, we're investigating the matter. What in God's name would you have to investigate? For example, Jen, my parents own a jewelry store, right? If one of their salespeople punched a customer in the face that was like, I don't know, just sitting on the little seat that you sit on when you're like looking at an engagement ring, just like punched them in the face, they'd be fired like immediately. So why is it any different for police? Actually, the police should be terminated more quickly than in private business because we pay their bill. I don't know if you were able to see that, but the way that this cop kicked this protester in the face, her neck could have snapped back. I mean, the force of that guy, they're wearing boots. It's not like you're hitting someone with little slippers. You know, the full force of this guy, her neck could have snapped back. God knows what could have happened to that person. They're investigating it. Where in any other situation that wasn't U.S. police, that person would be fired.
Cops are supposed to serve and protect the people of this country. That is their role. What was that cop thinking? Except for, I am powerful and I'm going to cause as much pain to this person in front of me as possible. This dirty protester, whatever they were thinking. It's or maybe they weren't thinking at all. They're just violent. They've turned into these. I mean, it's what would normally be a movie, but is our reality. These just evil authoritarian figures who are violent and just despicable. I did see the video, kicking that girl in the face who was already down, who was just sitting there. There's no excuse for it. And as for an internal review, there's video. There's nothing to review. It's, as you say, in any other job, that person would be out immediately. So what is taking so long? What is this review?
So now we're going to look at, I know a lot of people have seen this, but I'm bringing this up because we have a few words for New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. So for those that haven't seen it, this is, I think it was like 5-6 days ago. This is, protesters were surrounding a police vehicle. They weren't like jumping on the vehicle, but surrounding a police vehicle. Let's look at what happens next. By the way, we got almost 600. We got 600 people watching right now. Only 470 of you. Only 470 of you have smashed that like button. I need another 100. Almost. What do we need? Another 100 or so of you. Please press that like button right under the live stream. More people to press the like button. More people that will see this live stream. Very important. So, not only in any other line of work, in any other line of anything, if there were a bunch of people surrounding a car, sure, we could debate whether protesters should be getting up so close to a car like that. Maybe they felt, threatened or whatever. But there's different ways you could handle that, right? You could call for backup. You could get on your police megaphone and say, please back up from the car. We'd like to give you your right to protest, but back up from the car. You cannot surround our car. If it continues, you'll be arrested immediately. So a cop car runs over, it looked like a couple dozen people. In any other scenario, not only would they be fired, they'd be charged with attempted something. I mean, you could kill somebody, that people could be dragged under that car. It's just unbelievable. Meanwhile, Mayor Bill de Blasio, a Democrat, at a press conference, kind of like, did a little Trump Charlottesville about this, said, oh, well, good people on both sides. I mean, he didn't say that, but he basically said, yes, we are going to, again, investigate this incident, but the cops shouldn't be surrounding the car. It's still, I think 5 or 6 days later, those officers haven't been fired that ran over protesters. Think about, by the way, this isn't only a race thing. I don't want to say that as a white person because obviously there's a huge racial dynamic. It's not only a race thing with this police terrorism. It is a power, an outsized power complex. Police have been fetishized in this country. The deference that has been given not only to corporate America, but to police, who they're not all bad, but the psychology that the United States government has put out there about police is we should bow down to police officers, and they are holier than thou, and that they could do no wrong, and blah, 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 when the reality is we pay for them, and they don't get to terrorize people because they have a badge or because their job is a little, is risky. You know what I mean? Journalists' jobs are risky, maybe not as risky as police, but we don't get to go run people over. We don't get to shoot guns at point a gun at a toddler. I mean, it's crazy. And the fact that, if this were the only incident right now, remember, if there wasn't George Floyd, if there wasn't Breonna Taylor, if there wasn't Ahmaud Arbery, if there wasn't protests all over the country, and it was just this on a random New York City night where police rammed their car over a bunch of people, it would be national news for days, or it should be national news for days. But it's being lost in the rest of it. So that's the first clip. Then last night, I was covering protests, and full disclosure, I missed this. I had been going, I don't know, it seems like 4.5, 5 hours live. It was like 8:45, maybe 9 o'clock at night, almost an hour past the curfew the Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio had put out for New York of 8 o'clock. And I said to myself, you know what? I just can't walk anymore. I mean, my back is super tight. I'm like limping at this point. I also felt bad for our cameraman who had been carrying a brand new live view that you funded. Thank you, people. GoFundMe. If you could drop the link, Jen. So Jamal looked like, he was about to pass out because we just covered a protest that started from downtown all the way uptown. Then we crisscrossed from the west side of New York City to the east side to cover the sit-in. And it was time. Like we needed a break. So we ended, and then apparently as I ended, the protesters were on 2nd Avenue here in New York. They then marched to 3rd Avenue, and I guess like 10 or 15 minutes after I stopped, that's when police started brutalizing protesters. And these were peaceful protesters. The most violent thing they were doing was chanting, "Fuck you, fuck your curfew." And they were, marching. And, we need to discuss. Yes, can the governor, can the mayor technically institute a curfew? Yes. But why should peaceful protesters have to have a curfew? Why should people be told you can't peacefully assemble? Because what I covered, I did not see one person being violent. Literally one person being violent. So let's show you Josh Fox, obviously documentary filmmaker, tweeted this out.
Oh my God. 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 Oh my God.
That is that's like 10 minutes after I wrapped my live stream coverage. Thank you for the super chat. Ensign Gray, $5 in the super chat. Vegans for Black Lives Matter. Love you, Ensign. I tried vegan for about 3 days. It really helped me going to the bathroom, let me tell you. I won't get into my constipation, but it did help. But, what can I tell you?
Jordan, TMI.
TMI? Oh, by the way, for those of you watching at home, yes, I did try to cut my own hair because the barbers are closed and I had quite a jufro growing. It worked out. It worked out in the front. I cut my hair in the front pretty decent. In the back, not so good. I don't endorse. I don't endorse cutting the back of your head. So
we also have a GoFundMe from Jude. So thank you, Jude, so much.
Hey, Jude. Let me
/status-coup-news.
Yes, and we're gonna get into GoFundMe because we did raise our goal a little bit, so we'll explain why. Thank you, Jude. $10 in the GoFundMe. We're now at $107,090. Keep it coming if you can. So that guy, Jen, I don't know if you saw that clip, was literally trying to get out of traffic. Not one officer is hitting him with a baton. Multiple officers are smashing him with a baton. For what reason? I have no idea, other than the power complex we're talking about. Honestly, for all those officers, not that this matters, but for all those officers know, that could have been in like an Uber Eats biker who's delivering food. It could have been a hospital worker who's an essential worker that's riding home after a 12-hour shift of dealing with coronavirus patients. Yes, there's still a pandemic. We now have, 21,000 new cases in America, while all these people are out protesting right on top of each other. I'm not saying they shouldn't protest, but we should face it, there's going to be an increase of coronavirus. But all of this going on, and this is what New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who MSNBC, CNN, The Washington Post, The New York Times, they have elevated him to Gold Star member of the resistance in recent weeks. They have elevated him to Gold Star member of Woke Back Mountain. They have elevated him to Gold Star member of the neoliberal Progressive Club. This is what Andrew Cuomo said when a reporter, I was kind of impressed that a reporter actually challenged him about the just evident, it's not brutality, it's terrorism that his police are doing. Let's take a look.
And then here's my opinion based on those facts. And if we have a disagreement as opinion, fine. That's fine.
At the same time, last night we all saw videos of New York City police officers who were bludgeoning peaceful protesters in New York City with batons as they were enforcing the curfew. And these weren't people who were resisting or putting up any fight. Is this what you wanted when you said the cops should do their job?
Do you think anyone would say, a question itself can be a little offensive. A police officer doing their job, do you think there's any sensible police officer who believes their job is bludgeoning a peaceful person with a baton? See, it's that kind of incendiary rhetoric that it's not a fact. It's not a fact. It's not even an opinion. That is a hyper-partisan rhetorical attack. Police bludgeon peaceful protesters with batons for no reason. That's not a fact. They don't do that. Anyone who did do that would be obviously reprehensible, if not criminal.
So, Governor, I have two reopening questions. I hope you'll.
So, and we'll figure it out, Jen, after the live stream, why you can't hear the clips. But And thank you. Keep it coming in the Super Chat. Keep it coming in GoFundMe. We really appreciate it. We got 700 people watching right now, so make sure you press that like button if you haven't. Jen, basically you have Governor Cuomo. This is just gaslighting 101. This fucking asshole. Excuse my French. Gaslighting with reverse psychology. I know you studied psychology. Literally, you got video of police officers bludgeoning people on bicycles trying to get out off the road. You obviously have videos of there were police officers dragging protesters 2 nights ago, like on the ground. There's audio and video of police like basically threatening an Associated Press reporter who was trailing a march. And Cuomo's saying when a reporter asks him, like, what do you think of police bludgeoning protesters? He says, that's an opinion. You know, that's a hyper-partisan opinion, what you're saying. And that's not a fact. And he turns it around on the reporter, a very Trumpian thing to do without, you know. I mean, no, it's not an opinion. I mean, you factually see police officers running over protesters, hitting protesters with batons. And he's basically trying to gaslight reporters and, by extension, their readers into thinking all is well here. Don't believe your lying eyes. He did a little cleanup later when, let's see, he was getting a lot of criticism. He said, peaceful protest is a sacred American right. No peaceful protester deserves to be hit with a baton, and no self-respecting police officer would defend that. I think you might want to go talk to your police people, because I think they do a lot of locker room talk, boasting about enjoying that kind of behavior. Another investigation we're calling on. I've asked New York State Attorney General to investigate last night's incidents as part of our ongoing investigation. Jen, I honestly, I can't keep up with the amount of investigations. From sea to shining sea, from coast to coast, we have so many investigations into police, ran mostly by the police. I'm beginning to think they're not actually investigating anything, and they're just trying to placate us. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think of Cuomo? I mean, the original thing he said is what he really means. He's just tweeting that out, you know, not to upset his newfound Walkback Mountain stardom. But he's basically defending the police. And real quick, David Sirota points out in his newsletter, which, by the way, you know, all during this protest, I don't know if you guys noticed a little dust up in Bernie world. We'll get into that maybe another time. But Andrew Cuomo, as David Sirota shows us, Jen, I think you can see my screen now. Andrew Cuomo takes more money from police unions than any other politician in America. Let's see. In all, police unions and associations have delivered more than $7 million to current New York State elected officials, according to Money in Politics, National Institute of Money in Politics. That includes $600,000 to Cuomo during his gubernatorial campaign. Police unions have also delivered more than $274,000 to Cuomo's New York Democratic Party. Since 2010, Democratic Senate leader Andrea Stewart Cousins and Democratic Assembly Speaker Carl Hiesel have received $187,000 and $76,000 over their careers. Accounting for all campaign money from police, firefighters, and emergency medical technicians, Cuomo has received the largest share of that money of any public official in the country. 5 of the 10 biggest recipients of that cash in the entire nation are from New York. So you got Andrew Cuomo receiving the most money from police unions of any politician in America, and of the top 10 of highest earners from police unions, all from New York. I wonder why they won't say anything bad about the police. I wonder why it's usually investigations to nowhere. I wonder why the police feel that they have perfect immunity to run protesters over, to pepper spray peaceful protesters, to gas peaceful protesters, to shoot rubber bullets at peaceful protesters, to drag journalists. And by the way, this is who the media propped up as some kind of leader during the coronavirus while he was trying to cut Medicaid by $2.5 billion here in New York. I wonder if Chris Cuomo will ask his brother about these donations in their next love affair segment. Your thoughts?
The police have no real consequences. These investigations, as you say, are going to lead nowhere. Or if they do, I mean, there have been a couple instances where, like with the Australian journalists who were beat in DC, there are consequences here or there. But that's because of the protests. That's because of the visibility. But if they can say, if Cuomo can get on Twitter and say, oh, there's an investigation into this, and all the liberals, all the white liberals are like, okay, that's good. He's looking into it. And then they go bury their head in the sand some more. Nothing's going to happen.
And by the way, just Barack Obama said, yeah, my Department of Justice is going to look into Ferguson. We're going to look into Standing Rock. We're going to look into this, which led to nothing.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the same thing with these liberals, too. They say, can you imagine this happening under Obama? Can you imagine the police acting like this under Obama? And people rightly pointed out Ferguson, Standing Rock, all over the place. Yes, this kind of stuff did. We haven't seen it on this scale, but it's not just because of Trump. It's systemic. And there are no consequences for these police. Maybe they're put on desk duty. If they are let go, 2 towns over, they're picked up as police again. There's no consequences. And that's why people are calling for kind of a national registry of fired police and their offenses, saying these people cannot get hired again as a correctional officer, as a police officer, which is a great idea. And as for Cuomo walking it back, I mean, he needs to be monitoring what's happening. That video was very widely spread, very widely reported. People knew what was happening. Maybe he didn't see how viral it had gotten of what happened at that park, and that protesters were in fact beaten with batons. A journalist was beaten with a baton and his bike was stolen. For some strange reason, a ton of bikes were stolen yesterday. A ton of people were beaten with batons. So for Governor Cuomo to not have any idea that this was going on, I think he probably had some idea. Then he was called out on it. There was this huge video. He had to kind of walk it back with his little tweet. And in the end, nothing real happens. No real changes happen. That's why people are out in the street protesting. That is why people will not stop. This time feels very different. And if the powers that be are not going to have consequences for these police, the people are going to have consequences for police.
Preach. Thank you for the super chat. Lilith, $5. Real reporters where it depends. Sometimes that bladder makes you miss a story. Great job, Status Quo. Proud to be a member. Let me tell you something, Lilith. Don't tempt me, because I have said maybe I should wear an adult diaper. I
think Jordan would absolutely do that.
Because there's a problem. There's 3 problems. Number 1, I already have a 90-year-old's prostate, so I pee a lot. Number 2, it's hot, like covering these protests, so I was drinking water, which makes me have to pee more. And number 3, when you go on, when you keep seeing the audience go up, you don't want to stop the live stream, and I'm not going to be like, hey, give me a break for 5. First off, there's no buildings open for me to go in and pee because things are still shut down. So it gets dicey. I mean, I was literally holding in a piss yesterday for at least 4.5 hours, and I hope it's not damaging my future here. So thank you for the super chat though.
You're lucky your audience is very forgiving about your
TMI
bathroom information.
Thank you, Ambush of Blacks, California, $2. Thank you with the emojis. I like that. Thank you for the GoFundMe's. Ensign, $20. Jude, $10. We're now at $107,110. Keep it coming if you can. Any amount makes a huge difference. So there's another element. I wonder why, since Cuomo is basically bought off by the police unions, and police union corruption is not only a New York thing, as we're seeing in Minneapolis and other places, but as The Intercept pointed out, and I saw this covering a protest last week, they're not even they're covering up their badge numbers, which should be illegal. New York Police Department officers policing the protests in New York City are increasingly covering their badge numbers with black bands, making it difficult for people to identify them and hold them accountable for their actions. On Wednesday, the National Lawyers Guild sent a letter to the department and to the city's corporation council warning that if the NYP doesn't put an end to the practice, it would expect a lawsuit. The practice of police obscuring their badge numbers, a form of identification that many jurisdictions require officers to make available to the public when interacting, has taken on a heightened significance amid the nationwide protests over the killing of George Floyd by Minneapolis police. The protests have been met with a show of force from officers, sometimes veering into brutality. So let me explain why this is so problematic. It's obviously problematic, but why this is problematic from a transparency point of view even more. Status quo diapers coming soon. That would be wonderful. If somebody wants to design them, I might be having a kid in a couple of years, so you never know. Oh, man, men could go lift their leg on a tree. Somebody tell Jordan. You want me to deface Mother Earth? Is that what you're saying?
Oh my God.
So I have covered protests. There's something called legal observers at protests. They usually wear green hats or something green. I have seen legal observers go up to police and try to look closely to get their badge numbers, to get their name. That's how legal observers could say, we witnessed, Officer Fuckhead doing XYZ that is against protocol or illegal. So if they're covering up their badge numbers, how is anyone's, you basically are an anonymous person at that point. So you could do whatever, you could already do whatever the hell you want, based on just the New York governor being bought off and petrified of criticizing the police. By the way, remember, Cuomo criticized the police a few days ago, saying the police and New York Mayor de Blasio didn't do their job, and he went and apologized like 30 seconds later. So now you have New York City police covering up their identity so that they could do whatever they want, which basically makes legal observers, because I've seen legal observers at these protests, impossible to do your job. You're observing anonymous people. And a lot of times, if you go up to the officer and say, what is your name? They won't tell you. So why would you be covering up your badge if you don't plan on having anything to hide, or you don't plan on doing anything wrong? That is...
Well, one thing that's really concerning in DC in particular is that they're sending in officers from the Bureau of Prisons who are nameless, badgeless, and they're trained differently than the police because they're trained in prison situations where people don't really have rights anymore. So I think that's horrifying.
So I want to move on because, to me, I hope this person runs for New York City mayor. This is public advocate Jumaane Williams bashing Cuomo, de Blasio, and this barbarism.
People's lives. Now you care about people's lives. And every time this is brought up, you set more police. You set more laws to cause the interactions to be more stressful. So then we started protesting about all of those police and those laws, and you set more police and more laws. I hear the mayor and the governor saying we have to do what we have to do to protect property. We want to make sure we protect property. The governor goaded the mayor. They're not doing what they need to do to protect property. I want to say this as a citywide elected official. We must protect property. We must make sure people feel safe. But where is the same energy for Black lives? Why are you not saying we have to do everything we can to protect Black lives? Why are you not saying, here's the plan that I have, because Black lives are not mattering in New York City, in New York State, in this country? Where is that leadership?
I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. Basically, why are they so focused on property, but they don't have the same vigilance in protecting the looting, terrorism, and barbarism against black people? And I don't know, call me cynical Susie, but I think it has a little something to do with capitalism. Because a lot of these businesses that are boarding up their stores or getting looted, which I'm not advocating looting, don't get me wrong. But, they're major players in the United Corporations of America. They give a lot of money to politicians. Their CEOs give a lot of money to politicians. And this country and this government values corporations over people. Black people, white people, all people. So I think those were powerful words. And frankly, follow the money. We already went through it. Cuomo was bought off by the police unions. He's bought off. And by the way, it's not just the police unions. A lot of the wealthiest donors in America are Blue Lives Matter in their thinking and, protect the police, protect the police. But let me ask you a question. Pelosi and them, we got to give $1 trillion, save our police, save our firefighters. Well, I think the police, maybe it's time to cut police. Maybe it's time to radically cut budgets for pepper spray, for tasers, for, shields like this. You're not going into Fallujah. I'm not saying totally defund the police, because obviously there is need for protection. There is need, if your home is broken into, things like this, for police. But look at Los Angeles, for example. The mayor just made it some victory that we're going to cut the police budget by $100 to $150 million. The police budget is $3 billion in Los Angeles. The police are over half of Los Angeles's entire budget. Go figure, if you live in Los Angeles, why 40 to 50% of the city is poor and falling apart. Your thoughts?
It's ridiculous. When I remember someone on Twitter, when it was announced that LA...
I'm sorry, Jen. Hate to interrupt.
Yeah.
Welcome new Status Quo member, Ensign. Woohoo!
Welcome, Ensign.
We are now
so happy to have.
We are now at 1,816 Status Quo members. We've been getting a lot of sign-ups, so sign up, statusquo.com/join, become a member for 16 cents a day, $5 a month. This is how we grow. This is how we fund in-the-field reporting. If you haven't noticed, we've had freelance journalists around the country, from Minneapolis, from LA. Got to pay them. We had Jamal shooting yesterday. Got to pay him. We're going to talk about our advertising needs in a little bit. So sign up, statusquo.com/join, unless you're waiting for CNN to tell the truth. Go on, Jen.
My brain doesn't work like that. I can't get exactly back where I was. But in LA, when they cut the budget, people on Twitter were like, okay, that's like Jeff Bezos donating like $1 million. It really means nothing. It means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. And in the talks of defunding the police, I need to do a lot more research in this area. I need to hear a lot more viewpoints. I think for the most part, people don't mean completely defund the police, although there is this movement to abolish the police force, abolish prisons, all of that. Not my area of expertise. I'll listen to other voices on that. But I think in general, it's pretty clear that we need less of a budget for police. Teachers, I used to be a teacher. I taught first grade, little 6 and 7-year-olds. I can't count how much money I spent on classroom supplies. And that's the story you hear from classroom teachers all over this country. They are buying their own supplies. So this is not my original thought. I don't remember where I heard it, but when was the last time you heard of a cop having to buy their own bullets? It doesn't happen. These cops they have military vehicles. I actually, so when I was knocked over by police the other day, I've been speaking with this Freedom of the Press Foundation journalist who's doing a write-up on it. And she said, okay, well, where, when he hit you, like attacked you with his shield, where did he hit you? And I had to say, well, the shield is so gigantic that basically it hits you everywhere. I guess like he was aiming for upper body, but the thing is enormous. So they, like you said, like they're not going into Fallujah here. They don't need what they are decked out in. Their budgets are just absolutely unreal. Just like the military, the police are not going underfunded in this country. They are way overfunded, and there's a reason for that. We're obviously fans of unions as progressives, but the police unions are
They're not a union.
pretty darn corrupt.
Not a union. They're a gang.
Yeah, a gang. They have a lot to do with this as well, and they have a lot of influence with politicians, even so-called liberal, good Democratic politicians.
And by the way, just so people understand what we're saying, I don't think the U.S. should be going into Fallujah with these weapons. I don't think the U.S. should be going into Iraq with this kind of military weapons. You know what? If the United States would drop more books, if the United States would drop more food and water and help for other countries rather than invading them, rather than coming in with Uzis and tanks and GI Jackass as the United Corporation's mantra, we shouldn't be doing this in Fallujah, and we shouldn't be doing it in Brooklyn, and we shouldn't be doing it. It's one thing if you're actually attacked like we were in 9/11. I agree with going to Afghanistan. I think, frankly, we should have went to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was really Saudi Arabia.
Well, no. I mean, bin Laden, some of the planning, yes, but a lot of the planning went on in Afghanistan, but the actual hijackers were from Saudi Arabia. But we would never go into Saudi Arabia because we want that money, baby. We need that oil money. So the point is, the United States is on offense around the world. We're not defending the country. We are invading other countries. And the United States is on offense here. The police are on offense here. They're not defending themselves. Yes, there are protesters throwing water bottles at police. Yes, in some cases, there are protesters throwing objects at police. I understand the hatred. I understand the anger. I can't condone that because I just don't think throughout history that kind of protest works. And I think you lose your righteous method. I think you lose your righteous method if you're throwing bricks at police and I have seen that personally with my eyes. So that I don't condone because I don't think it's effective, and I also think it gives the media and the politicians the ammunition to discredit the whole movement, which they're looking to do. But
I don't know. I kind of disagree there. I'm not condoning violence, but I also think it's at a place where the peaceful protests are not working. Martin Luther King, everyone holds up Martin Luther King Jr. as an example of this, and obviously just amazing legacy, did so much. He was also murdered. So, and infiltrated. And people are at this point where peaceful protest, here we are, all these decades later. What has changed? So people are at this place where, okay, if us being peacefully out in the streets is not making change, I'm angry. I'm going to throw this rock at this police who's wearing Kevlar and this giant shield and who will never feel it anyway, but I'm angry, so I'm going to do it. So I don't think, I think it's a hard thing. I think it's very easy to be, a white person and say, no, violence is bad, looting is bad, but there's a reason for it. And if there is this unrest and these consequences, things have to change. Burning down that precinct in Minneapolis was a moment. Do we think that Ellison would have been assigned as the Attorney General, would he have been assigned as the prosecutor on this case had this unrest, had this looting and property damage and burning down of the precinct, and what a moment that was, and thankfully we got that moment on camera? Would those other 3 police officers, along with Derek Chauvin, be in jail right now? Would they be charged? We don't know the answer. Maybe they would, but I think maybe not if people had just been standing out there holding signs and going to bed by 8 p.m.
I actually agree with you on that part. I guess where we disagree is I actually think the police burning was a good thing. I don't know if I would agree if the protesters knowingly burned down the police headquarters with people in it. I think knowing that it was empty, I do think, sometimes you have to take aggressive action, even what would be considered violent action, to make a statement. And I think that police headquarters burning was what you were just talking about, very, very symbolic. I guess what I'm talking about is I have seen protesters, not not the plurality, but in some cases I have seen protesters throwing rocks, throwing things like that. And I think that the rage at the reason for doing it, I understand. But the powers that be are looking for any reason to not only discredit you, but turn public sentiment away from you. So to me, it's been twofold why this movement is starting to work. You're starting to see, the 3 other officers were charged. The main officer's charges were upgraded. There's more national outrage about Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor. You're seeing calls to fire the police commissioner, the police union head in Minneapolis, which might actually happen. But I think the reason all that is happening is not specifically because of the looting. It's because of the sustained, massive, coordinated protest around the country, which we have not seen since MLK's assassination. I think the sheer numbers of it and the continued basis of it, how long this is going on, and it seems to continue to go on, I think is why you're starting to see change. I think I agree with burning down the police station. I also, frankly, can't say I have a major problem with burning police cars.
Well, who cares if like the Chipotle gets broken into? Who cares if they steal Gucci bags? It also comes down to a class reasons. I just can't.
That I don't agree with.
They can go steal the Gucci bags they want.
But you want to know something? Okay. Yeah, who cares if they, knock into Chanel or the massive Macy's here, and which obviously has insurance and this and that. But there's also like mom and pop businesses that have worked their whole lives to build that, to get the money, to build up even their bodega on the side of the road. Like my parents, for example, were scared the other day. They work 7 days a week, like my whole childhood. My parents work in a small business. I don't agree with my dad's politics, but they certainly have no racial bias against black people. So yes, I understand there's collateral damage for the cause, but I don't agree with just innocent business owners having their stores looted and broken and bashed in, because there's no rhyme or reason to that, and they're not the reason for this brutality. You want to burn down the police station? By all means. You want to burn down police cars? I don't have a problem with it. But I do think that is symbolism. But when you start bashing in just random smaller stores, I just don't think that's a good thing, because it's not easy to build a business, even a concession store or something like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I also, and I know a lot of black people don't agree with the looting, especially of the small mom and pop stores. And I think in general, those are not the targets. And there are bad actors who are taking advantage of this moment, but that's what they want you to focus on. People in the media and people in power want us to focus on, oh, the looting. Oh no, they destroyed this small mom and pop store. How are they going to rebuild? That is unfortunate. It should be reported on, but it's not the focus. The people who spoke, actually, I was walking in DC when I was walking from the Lincoln Memorial back to the White House the other day. I was listening to some people who were headed to the protest, four young black kids, teenagers or young 20s, and they were talking about their anger towards the police and the fact that they were to the point where they were not going to hold back. They weren't talking about looting or whatever, but they were talking about throwing things. They were talking about retaliating against the police, because they knew from the night before, which had been day one of the protests in DC, that the police, it didn't matter if people were throwing things or not. The police were retaliating over nothing. The police were being violent and vicious over peace. So if the police are not going to do what they're supposed to do, which is serve and protect, if they're not going to be peaceful, then what recourse do people have but to protect themselves, to send a message? And I understand, I'm trying to understand that anger. And I think it's so easy for us to join in the chorus of, oh, Black Lives Matter, but looting is awful, so let's focus on that. Or Black Lives Matter, but oh my gosh, they threw a half-empty water bottle at the police. So I'm just in a place of trying to understand right now. I won't pretend to get it. I'm trying to, because I know I'm in a place of privilege.
Yeah, and I was actually pissed off last night because my phone died. Once we get to the GoFundMe pitch, I need a new phone. But my phone died, but I was walking back to my apartment. I don't know, it was like an hour after the curfew. Like literally, just an army of police were passing me in cars, on bicycles, literally passing me like right next to me, just riding their bicycles through me. And I was just thinking to myself, damn, I'm lucky I'm white, because they didn't pull me over. They didn't touch me. They didn't even look at me. They just passed me. Whereas if a black guy was walking an hour after curfew and all these police were passing him, you better believe it would have been a different story. Thank you for the super chat. Did I miss you? Oh, Anamaxa, $5. Might get unexpected allies by reminding people of the Boston Tea Party and how they threw tea off ships and ruined it. I agree. Yeah, my thing is specifically like, maybe it's biased because of my parents and I know how work they hard. I just don't want to see not big businesses, like small businesses, bodegas, that kind of thing. They have nothing to do with this, and they shouldn't have to rebuild their life. And I don't think that should be the focus. I agree with Jen on that. I think the media wants it to be the focus. But I just want to make sure. And by the way, we have seen video of people that I guess they think they're part of the protest, but bashing windows, doing this, and you see black people stopping them. They don't want them doing that. So there's a lot of times when it really is, I don't use the term agitators because I think it's stupid, but there are people that are not like part of the mainstream protests that are resorting to looting and things like that, and you see organizers, mostly black, stopping them. So that's a good thing. So before we move to the next topic, which is the media, got a lot to say on that. We got to give a public service announcement, Jen. So we think hard about these things. We don't just unilaterally do it. We were $3,000 away from our GoFundMe goal of $110,000. And I said to Jen, you know what? I don't think these protests are going to end anytime soon. The advertising, right. And the advertising that you have started to do, which you could explain to the audience, is starting to work in terms of helping us get our audience subscriber up. Because our audience subscriber count on YouTube has basically been flat for like 3 months, because YouTube is throttling the fucking hell out of us. But we've been trying some new things that Jen could explain with advertising that are working, but we've never had an advertising budget because we've spent most of our money on traveling in the field, camera, equipment, stuff like that. So we said, you know what? Let's raise it by another $10,000 because these protests are going to continue. So we're going to need extra money to keep paying for freelancers around the country to go live for us, from Minneapolis, from LA. I'd like to get someone in Denver because Denver has been pretty a huge rallies. I'd like to get somebody in Chicago. We all know how the police are in Chicago. But we also want more money to advertise. We're about to hit 81,000 subscribers, which, again, we've been stuck for months. So just wanted to let you guys know we didn't want you to think we were like pulling a fast one over you or like continually moving the goalpost. We plan on ending this GoFundMe now at $120,000. It will not be raised again. You could save this video. But we did raise it from 110 to 120,000 because it's been growing pretty steadily. We see that people are willing to support us as we keep going in the field, doing the reporting that, I don't see any other independent outlets doing this. So,
well, I don't want to say no on it. Like Unicorn Riot's doing a good job, but we are the only ones doing it in the way that we do it.
Yes, and nationally, Unicorn Riot happens to be based in Minneapolis. So I'm not like diminishing what they're doing, but we're trying to show like nationally around the country what's going on. And I think you could also talk about how valuable it is to have this extra money. We don't take money from banks, fossil fuckers, big pharma, defense industry, fossil fuckers, big real estate. So we are supported by you. That's why we're doing the GoFundMe. But to have extra money for advertising, to have extra money for hiring these freelancers around the country that we're happy to pay. We also, I have to get a new phone plan because my phone keeps dying. So the money is being spent to build up the company, correct?
Yeah, so I want to explain a couple things about the GoFundMe. The first is that when you look at it and it says 107,000 some odd dollars, we don't have anywhere near that. This fundraiser has been running since 2018, and it has been spent on traveling across the country, reporting in the field on the political campaign, on police violence before this mass uprising, on environmental issues. We often show this map that shows all the places that we've been. That is where the money has gone. The money has also gone to equipment needs, such as the live view, which allows us to be live in the field. It collects many different signals so that it strengthens it. And even when, just going live on an AT&T or Verizon phone, it's probably not going to work, whereas the live view makes it work. Jordan's new computer, which is the only reason I'm able to be on the show today, is because he needed the extra speed. And now when we're talking about Jordan needing to get a new phone, I think he should get a phone like I have, which everyone called the immortal phone, which after I was attacked by cops the other day, it kept live streaming for 90 minutes. And it hadn't even been fully charged before I started live streaming. It was probably half charged. So he needs something that will, for safety, for reporting. It needs to, his battery is just dying way too fast right now. It's just not conducive to reporting. And it's smart to have a company phone anyway, rather than just a personal phone. And as I learned the other night, it's just not safe. You never know what could happen. Jordan was quite concerned when my phone was lost because police ran into me and knocked me over and knocked my phone and all my equipment out of my hands. There was no way for me to contact him. So I think it's important to have a personal phone and a business phone. We need to be able to stay in contact. These are dangerous situations. It is no picnic out there. So the GoFundMe has gone to those things. It has kept going. Now we're in 2020. It started in 2018. Now we are growing. Finally, we have this momentum. We are in the field reporting in a way that no one else is on this uprising. As Jordan said, we are getting freelancers to be in different places, and we're going to keep doing that because we need to document this. Police are going to do what they're going to do. And if there are not cameras shining on these police officers, God knows what this will turn into. This needs to be documented. What's happening at the hands of police needs to be reported on. So Status Quo wants to be there. So we've raised our GoFundMe so that we can continue reporting on these uprisings and beyond. This includes advertising to get the word out, to get our important interviews out. Oh my goodness, yesterday Jordan got some amazing tearjerkers of interviews. That needs to spread. People need to hear the words of the people. And that's what Status Quo is all about, is giving the microphone back to the people. And
just so you know, specifically, we're trying out advertising on Reddit. We're trying some third-party platforms that you could promote videos. Jen could explain it better than I can. But basically, we're spending money on advertising that we really haven't had the money to spend because it's not just us. All independent outlets are getting suppressed. We're not seen as much as corporate outlets in YouTube's algorithm. So we've had to spend money that we normally wouldn't have to spend if we weren't being suppressed, just so people learn about Status Quo, see it for the first time. And we're seeing once we get new people in here, they tend to subscribe. And then eventually we convert them to paid members. Speaking of, welcome new Status Quo member, Elizabeth. Woohoo!
All right, Elizabeth.
We are now at 1,817 members. So the last thing I'll say, and then we can move on to the next topic, Jen. Joanna in the super chat. Don't make me. Those are some fighting words, Joanna. Joanna says, "Well, Jordan hasn't left New York to cover these protests." Well, Joanna, if you didn't know, Jordan is a survivor of the coronavirus. And
oh my gosh.
Jordan is not getting on a plane so quickly, as there's a deadly pandemic going on, that frankly, I don't know if somebody could contact coronavirus twice, because I don't think anybody really knows for sure whether we're immune to this. There's different studies, there's things like that. So in normal times, I would have been on a plane to Minneapolis probably a week ago. But I don't particularly want to get on a plane right now. Jen agrees with that I shouldn't be on a plane right now. Yes, I was covering a protest and around all these people, so there's risk everywhere. But, you know, I'm a human being too, and I need to preserve my health, because if I get coronavirus again, you know, I got lucky once. I'm trying to be safe. I'm also thinking of my girlfriend. You know, she doesn't need to be an early widow here. And yeah, so just so you know, it's not just because I'm lazy and don't want to leave New York. I don't want to get on a plane yet. So just putting that out there.
It's understandable, and that's why we have people all over the country. That's why I'm going back to DC as soon as I can on Saturday. So it's not about not leaving New York or whatever. I don't even know why that was brought up.
Well, we're saying we're hiring freelancers. I can't get to every city. We don't have the budget for that.
No, of course. I don't even think we need to explain. I think the audience gets it. And I think it's important to note that this is all over the country. And that's why we are reporting from all over the country. So if you can, please support Status Coup at any amount. GoFundMe.com/status-coup-news. We will keep reporting on this. I think it is so important that we are out there, that we keep the freelancers on the ground, and that we keep going out. We're not going to stop.
And thank you for the GoFundMe, Michael Ferrara, $20. We're now at 107,130. So, Jen, I want to pivot. We've talked about police. I want to talk about the media, because there was a protest in Minneapolis, and they actually, and you know, I've been advocating for this for a while.
Well, before we move on, should we talk about the police lying about me?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Do you have it?
The video? Queued up? Yeah, I could get it. Hold on.
No, you don't have to. I'm just saying I can explain it now. Let me just explain it. So this is kind of an interesting thing. Before we move on, we're going to talk. We've already talked about the lies of police. We're going to talk about the lies of the media. You guys all heard that Trump lied about, on Monday when he got his photo op with his upside down Bible. He lied and said tear gas was not used. He lied and said the protesters were not beaten or shot at with rubber bullets. That was clearly not the case. Journalists were there. It was well documented. There's this gaslighting. There's this lying all over the place. Cops are lying. Cuomo is lying in New York. It's happening everywhere, these lies. So I just wanted to update people, because the cops lied about my situation. And the short version of what happened to me is I was reporting on Saturday in DC. Someone threw a firework at the feet of police as I was trying to move away, as protesters were trying to move away. Cops attacked me. I lost all my equipment. I lost my phone. I got knocked down and bruised and scratches and stuff like that. So the Freedom of the Press Foundation, a journalist from the Freedom of the Press Foundation, has been doing a story on this, on what happened to me. And so she contacted the Metropolitan Police Department in DC, so that's the DC police, and they said, oh, it wasn't us. It was a federal agency. So she got back to me and she was like, is that what happened? Or do you have like a video or photo of who this was? And so I went back to the live stream, because I had been live streaming, and I grabbed screenshots showing Metropolitan Police, their insignia, they're on the back of their helmets. It was clearly MPD. So I sent her that stuff. I sent her the time codes and the screenshots. So she was able to go back to MPD, and they admitted that it was them after all. So this is yet another example of the police lying. I did a longer video on this earlier today, but that's why the media needs to be on the ground. That's why Status Coup needs to be on the ground, is so we can capture what's truly going on, report what's truly going on. If the police are lying about me, who is privileged in so many ways, I'm white, And I, even though I was clearly identifiable as a journalist, I did get attacked, but I'm okay. There are people who are much worse off than me in these protests. A lot of journalists have gotten it much worse than me. But if they're going to lie about me, who else are they lying about? They're going to lie about the black men that they put up in handcuffs, the black girls that they put up in handcuffs and take to jail or beat or bloody. They're lying. So that's why we need to be on the ground.
Absolutely. And you guys could check out that video Jen posted earlier today. It's really, really good. And honestly, I think what Jen's saying, the police get away with lying so much because 99.9% of the media generally just regurgitates and reprints whatever the hell the police say. And that's it. I mean, this journalist for the U.S. Press Freedom, whatever the group is, actually reached out to the police, reached out to Jen, was asking good follow-up questions, and did some investigating. And she said to Jen, like, "Oh, I saw the Metropolitan badge or whatever, the whatever they have on their uniform to show that it was Metropolitan Police." So this is a journalist that didn't just put in print, the reporter says this, the police say it wasn't them, you decide. Like, she actually did that extra step, i.e. reporting. So kudos to her.
Yeah.
And definitely watch that video Jen did. By the way, Anthony Moose, I love your name, says...
Anony. Yeah.
Oh, Anony, sorry. Jordan, road trip journalism an option? Anony, don't even get me started, because Jen could tell you. My original vision for Status Quo was getting a Winnebago. Was getting a big Winnebago, 1970s style, soup it up a little bit, and just drive around America and basically live stream it. But that didn't work out for a variety of issues. Yes, that's another thing we might, as a company, look into getting, which is
A lot of states are
a vehicle.
requiring you to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Oh yes, a lot of states are actually requiring you to quarantine for 2 weeks if you're coming from New York. So even if I drove somewhere right now, I would have to quarantine depending on the state for 2 weeks. But we might eventually get a vehicle for the company. That way, locally, I'm not, frankly, I've had 2 back surgeries in 2.5 years. I'm not driving 24 hours to Minneapolis right now and sitting in a car that long. But within reason, yes, there's road trips possible. So Jen, I want to play this clip courtesy of Unicorn Riot, who has been doing great work. Actually, first, before I do that, I want to show you this Philadelphia media story because it shows you the pattern here. Philadelphia Inquirer journalists walk out over Building Matters 2 headline. You can't make this up. Journalists at the Philadelphia Inquirer staged a partial walkout Thursday in outrage at a headline over the George Floyd protest that twisted the name of the group Black Lives Matter to read Buildings Matter 2. On June 4th, we're calling in sick and tired, stated a letter signed by at least 44 journalists of color of the Philadelphia Inquirer. Excuse me for interrupting myself, but welcome new Status Quo member Joe. Holy cow, we're now at 1,818 members. Keep signing up. Statusquo.com/join. Become a member for as low as 16 cents a day. We appreciate you, Joe. So on June 4th, we're calling out sick and tired, stated a letter signed by at least 44 journalists of color at the Philadelphia Inquirer. Quote, sick and tired of pretending things are okay. Added this letter, tweeted by many of those stating they were staying home in protest. The carelessness of our leadership makes it harder to do our jobs and at worst put our lives at risk. The headline comparing the vandalism to buildings to the international outrage sparked by police custody deaths appeared on page 12 of Wednesday's print edition. Quote, we should not have printed it, the paper's editors wrote in an apology to readers and Inquirer employees late Wednesday, conceding it was deeply offensive. Quote, we're sorry and regret what we did, continued the apology, signed by the top editors at the paper. Quote, the headline offensively riffed on the Black Lives Matter movement and suggested an equivalence between the loss of buildings and the lives of Black Americans. That is unacceptable. So I read this first because I've seen this around the country, and you've seen it, I think, Jen. One of the major problems with our media, besides it being corrupt, is it's mostly run by well-to-do white people. Especially in major cities. Editors at the New York Times, the Washington Post, Philadelphia Inquirer, Baltimore Sun. I mean, we could go on and on. Major newspapers and major corporate outlets, major local television outlets are mostly being run by white people that are doing fairly well for themselves. Doesn't mean they're vicious people. It doesn't mean they're awful people, but it means they're a little out of touch with like what black people might be going through in this country. So the fact that they wrote a piece with the headline "Buildings Matter Too," I mean, it just shows you, again, this is kind of like your wine drinking member of the resistance running our media. You know, oh, the looting matters too. And why I'm bringing this up is because I want to play you this clip. Unicorn Riot got it. I've been saying for years, don't just protest politicians, go protest CNN peacefully. Go protest CNN, go protest MSNBC, go protest your local media, because they are the ones propping up the status quo. They are the ones covering up, not covering, but covering up police misdeeds, economic robbery that is our government. I mean, the corporate media barely covered the fact that this corporate bailout, the first coronavirus package, was a bank robbery. You know the graphic. Let me get it. I mean, there's Trump and Mitch robbing the Treasury, and Nancy and Joe are driving the getaway car. Well, in fairness to Joe, he's not in there yet. So we'll say Nancy and Chuck driving the getaway car. But this protest, particularly in Minneapolis, went to the Minneapolis Star Tribune. They protested outside the biggest paper in Minneapolis. I want to show you what they said because I think it's super powerful. And let me be clear, peaceful protest, not saying throw bricks at, the people who run these papers, but I want you to hear some of this protest because I think it's very important.
We're going to ask everybody to try and start to gather around here. This is going to be our starting point. We can't thank you enough for everybody showing up and coming out today. This is absolutely amazing. It's time for us to hold our media accountable, right? Right? And many of you are here today to support, but some might say, why this location? Well, because for a very long time, in the Twin Cities, we as black and brown people have been painted as vicious predators. As predators who need to be restrained. Predators who need to be jailed. Every time there is an incident with a black man or a Latino man, the first thing you see is some type of a mugshot they have pulled out of from God knows where. Right? But then when there is a victim and there is a perpetrator who is white male, do they even ever show the photo? So today, we are demanding not just justice for all of our brothers and sisters who've been murdered by police, and that media start covering African American, Latinos, LGBT, and people of color in the right light.
Welcome everybody, it's Nico from Unicorn Riot. We're here live in Minneapolis, in front of WCCO.
Justice from a media that has covered us in a wicked, wicked manner.
Listen!
Now we know that this has been a change. George Floyd, God bless his soul, has been the sacrificial lamb to the revolution. But the revolution is here. And we damn for sure are going to make sure the revolution was televised, right? And when they show our revolution, we're going to make sure that they tell our story from our lens, from our words, from our voices, and not any Becky that's sitting behind a news anchor with blonde, tight helmet hair who is perjuring a black man. Now, for the locals here who are from Minnesota, have you guys ever heard of Bob Crow? Oh, wicked, wicked, wicked evil man. I know because we've
So basically, I mean, you rarely see that the media being called out, because the media is essentially just printing what they are fed by the police. Where do you think the media is getting those mugshots, which is the first thing they show? Where do you think now the media is starting to cover in Georgia the fact that maybe Ahmaud Arbery had some mental health issues? Like that's relevant to him getting executed while jogging? The media picks these things up from the police department that give it to them and push them to print it. Where do you think, in Dallas, for example, when I went down there to cover the execution of 26-year-old black man, Botham John, who was just hanging out at his apartment when a white police officer came in and killed him. She then said, "Oh, I thought it was my apartment." Why do you think it is that within a day or two, the Dallas, whatever the paper there is, was printing the fact that, Botham John had weed in his apartment? Who do you think gave that to the media? The police. So the media is not responsible for police terrorism, but it certainly enables it by crafting stories and the narrative in a way that puts the spotlight and basically puts the victims on trial perpetually. So I think it is a good thing. Don't let the media be so comfortable. They might not technically be public servants like the police, but they do have a societal responsibility to cover things in a fair manner, at least, to not re-victimize murder victims. It's not relevant if a black man who was murdered by police was on drugs. It's not relevant if a black man murdered by police had a mental health issue or previous arrests. None of that is relevant. What's relevant is the actual incident that happens. And I'm glad to see Minneapolis protesters going outside the Star Tribune and calling out the media. Again, I'm not advocating for Trump-like behavior. I'm not saying chant like fake news at these people or corner them outside their cars. But don't let the media be so comfortable. Tell them we know the propaganda you've been putting out there in deference to police. Because remember, just like the media wants access to the politicians, they also want access to the police. Because they don't want to get kicked out of press conferences. They don't want to get kicked out of City Hall. And the police leak things to them that they then break. That's how the media works. Your thoughts?
Yeah, unfortunately I couldn't see the video, but I, of course, saw that ridiculous headline. And I don't know if you mentioned it, Jordan, but a lot of black workers of that paper called out sick today in a protest of that headline and the disgusting treatment. So kudos to them and that movement. But yeah, in general, as we've seen with our Flint reporting, there are certain local journalists, national journalists that get stuff fed to them, and they will only repeat the lies of the people in power. They know their lies. They know that it's not true, but they want to keep that access. They want to keep the information flowing to them so they don't step out, they don't do real reporting, and it's disgusting. It's absolutely despicable. It's getting less and less frequent to see truthful journalism, real investigative journalism, real in-field reporting. I actually called out the other day a CNN reporter who, I think this was on Monday or Tuesday, I can't remember, but it was very specifically after there had been documented violence and unrest at the hands of police. And this CNN reporter went on his Twitter and he's like, "This has been a very peaceful night. I haven't seen police do anything." And so I was like, what are you talking about? Even if you personally didn't see something, you do see that this is happening. You do see the accounts of other journalists. You do see the accounts of protesters. If you don't see, then you aren't looking. So for you to put out the line that police are being completely peaceful is disgusting and despicable, because that's not what's happening. So it's all over the place. And that's why people have to be careful of which media they pay attention to. And that's why independent media is so important.
Absolutely. Gito Faz, $9.99 in the super chat. The scariest thing about the police cars and cop shops burning is that they are going to buy new stuff and they like their new G.I. Joe toys. There should be tighter restrictions on militarizing them. Absolutely. Absolutely. Open a status quo zoo to lock up all the politicians and fake journalists. That would be awesome. Poopy Cakes, £2. Thank you for your awesome reporting. Thank you for the pounds.
Yeah.
Boop boop. DA, $5. Keep up the good work. Appreciate it, DA. Lily Rowe, $2. What did Biden say? No one wants a revolution. Ugh, Biden. Don't even get me started. By the way, we didn't even address this yet, but today another 1.9 million people have filed for unemployment, bringing us to 42 million people filing for unemployment. And while Donald Trump is calling for straight up fascism and bringing in military tanks to quell dissent, Joe Biden's statement about the 1.9 million more people filing for unemployment, 42 million unemployed, essentially an economic depression, just quietly hanging out there, was to say Trump is terrible, and not propose anything. Not saying that, I'm not trying to have a false equivalency, because obviously Trump's calls to put the military in the streets to quell peaceful protests, which is basically what he's saying he wants to do. And basically go around, enact the Insurrection Act of 1807, I think it is. It's not the same thing as Biden, it's not the same thing as Biden's terribleness, as at least Biden's not calling for that. But it just shows you how terrible these choices are. On one end, you got a looming fascist. It seems like he's really, if he wasn't there yet, it seems like Trump is getting to that point, versus a hapless, empty, substanceless guy who wrote the crime bill. Arlene Chambers, $5. Yes, protest MSM. We're doing it in Milwaukee. Arlene, if you do it in Milwaukee, make sure to get us the video. info@statusquo.com. Anybody, if you see something, say something. Send us the video. If you see police brutality, we can't respond to all emails, but we'll try. So if you have video of protests at media, if you have video at protests, if you see something you think is interesting, send it to us, info@statusquo.com. We appreciate it. Thank you for the GoFundMe contribution. Tim, $20. Anonymous, $10. We're now at $107,000, $107,165. So we really appreciate it.
Did you read Jen Bailey and Michael and?
Did I see them?
More people.
Oh, we got more super chats. Hold on. Jen Bailey. Where is Jen Bailey?
If you open it up, Jen Bailey, $5 in the super chat. Michael Ferrara, $20 in the super chat. And Ensign, who I think just became a member as well, $20 in the super chat.
Thank you. I don't see them, so thank you for getting that. Seth Peterson, $35. Woohoo, Seth. You're a repeated rock star.
And Seth just left a GoFundMe too, $15 in the super chat.
Unbelievable. Thanks for everything you're doing, Jordan, Jen, and Jamal. Status Quo is the source of real journalism because they give a shit. We do give a shit. Thank you for the super chat and the GoFundMe. Just a Girl, $9.99. Please tell me how to stay calm because I'm about to lose it. Thank you for being out there. Stay safe. Don't lose it yet. We're here to keep you calm. Keep calm and coo on.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. Keep calm and coo on. Just a Girl, thank you. I know it's tough. I know, particularly if you're a black person, just a lot of this is just the emotions are probably all over the place.
Whoa!
What happened?
The super chat.
Holy shit! If my neighbor didn't just complain about noise, I'd be doing naked jumping jacks. Ron Collins.
Whoa, Ron!
$400. $400. Strike.
Ron, you're
boycott,
amazing.
Make demands, defund. Ron, please email me at info@statusquo.com. I'd like to personally thank you, Ron. Thank you for the $400. That is game changing. That helps us pay for a freelancer if we get one tonight. It helps us pay, we're paying freelancers obviously for their work, a couple $100 at a time. So thank you, Ron. We really, really appreciate it. Strike, boycott. I've been saying, I hope that eventually, obviously right now the focus needs to be on Black Lives Matter, police terrorism. I hope this is the makings and the blueprint for an eventual general strike. I really do. So I agree. Thank you so much, Ron. That's so generous. Again, if my neighbor didn't complain about noise, I'd be going ballistic. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Jill, $9.99. After Ron, seriously, email us, info@statusquo.com. I'd like to personally thank you. Jen, before we go, is there any other PSA announcements? Again, we're trying to get somebody in LA. We're trying to get somebody in Chicago I'm looking into. Jen's going to be back in DC. I plan on being back out there tomorrow. This is all assuming this continues, which it looks like it will be continuing. Al Walski, $20 in the super chat. We appreciate you for putting yourself in danger to bring us the truth. Absolutely. That's part of the job, and we're happy to do it. By the way, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Press the subscribe button. Click the bell for all notifications. We really appreciate it. We're almost at 81,000 subscribers. The march to 100,000, hopefully we could accelerate this thing because we'd love to get to 100,000. Holy cow, another $100 from Anonymous. My God.
100 Canadian.
Where have all you been hiding under your pillows? Thank you. What is that, 100 Canadian?
Yeah, so it's like, but I don't know what the conversion is, but similar to $100.
Thank you, my friends in the north. I miss you. I would love to have another maple old fashioned, but I won't do.
Oh, those are so good.
I won't use the super chat or GoFundMe money for that. I'll use my own money for that. So thank you to Anonymous. We really appreciate that. You guys don't know how expensive it is to do like real in the trenches journalism. Obviously, we have to pay Jamal, which we're happy to do. Jen, we pay. Colin, I need to get paid. So thank you. Really appreciate it. Seth Peterson just left $15 in the GoFundMe. So we're now at 107,180. I will tell you for going forward, trying to get socialist champion Shama Sawant on tomorrow. We had her recently, but I want to have her again because she is calling for a ban on chemical weapons and this militarized police equipment in Seattle right now. And she just had quite the exchange with the deputy mayor and other city council members in Seattle. Seattle has had some of the most barbaric police terrorism you would think. Oh, it's Seattle, they're all liberal. Yeah, the police are terrorists there too. So hopefully we'll have Shama Sawant on tomorrow. Hoping to have Reverend William Barber on. If there's people you think we should interview, feel free to send us your suggestions at info@statusquo.com. Send us, suggestions for interviews, whatever, stories to cover. We also, I think, want to look into some of the stuff that's going on in prisons right now, because there was this very suspicious, Jen sent this to me yesterday, suspicious killing in a prison where they say, what was it, Jen? They said an inmate was trying to break his window and they pepper sprayed him and the guy died.
Yeah, so his name is Jamel Floyd. Same name as George Floyd. Last name is George Floyd. Not any relation that I'm aware of. Black man was in a solitary cell. I'm not sure of the details, but he was either trying to break his window or do something. So they pepper sprayed him and they say he died from that. So seems suspicious, not sure what's going on, just very disturbing. So we're going to look into that for sure.
Right. And welcome new Status Quo member. Holy cow, when it rains it pours. Welcome Sven. Just became a Status Quo member. So we're now at 1,819 members. And for those of you that know, we were actually, I think we were over 1,900 like a month and a half ago, but we lost a lot of members because of the coronavirus. So it's great that we're building back up. We'd love to get to 2,000 members by fall if we can. Preferably by the end of the month if we can keep this pace up. So we're now at 1,819 members. So we will, obviously, Jen and I'm not going out tonight. Again, I need to ice my back and take a break after 2 days of 150 blocks marching. But I should be back out tomorrow night. Make sure, if you are not on our text list, sign up for our text list. Text COUP to 370-370. That's COUP to 370-370. This way you get a text message when we're live. We might be live tonight because we're trying to get freelancers in real time to go live for us. So if you're not on our text list, you might not get a YouTube notification. YouTube doesn't seem, let's say we're live right now, right? So once we end our live stream, let's say just, the person I'm trying to get in LA says, hey, I could be live in 20 minutes. When you've already been live, YouTube is even worse at sending notifications if you're live again very soon after your previous live. So for example, yesterday I was live for like an hour and a half covering a march. Then we shut down so we could get in a car and drive across town. We went live probably 20 minutes later, Jen, after we shut down, and nobody got notified because YouTube doesn't notify you again if you just ended a live stream. So that's why you got to get on our text list, which also costs us money, but we want to make sure you know when we're live. So sign up. All you got to do is text COUP to 370-370. Thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you, Jen. We'll have you back often, as much as you could do.
And I want to tell people that I'll be in DC Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So keep an eye out for that.
Absolutely. And holy cow, wait, we got more super chats. The people don't want us to go. Gene Scheid, 1999, just got off a Black Lives Matter Zoom meeting for Northwest Indiana. Dogs were unleashed on peaceful protesters in Hammond, Indiana. Gene, please have people that were involved with that, activists, whatever, please have them reach out to us at info@statusquo.com, particularly if it's on video. We want to get that out there ASAP. I've been to Indiana. I could see the police unleashing the hounds on peaceful protesters. So we'll say it again, early, often, info@statusquo.com. If you're seeing police brutality, if you get video of it, if you know other activists that are involved that could send us the video, or if they want to be interviewed by us, if you have an interesting story that you want to be interviewed on, I hate to tell you this, we're not going to respond to all of you because we have a lot of emails, but we'll try to respond to as many as we can. Thank you, Gene. We would love to get info.
Whoa.
What?
Another amazing super chat.
Anonymous, $50 after your $100. I want to know who you are, Anonymous. Thank you, Anonymous. Another 50 Canadian. Email me at info@statusquo.com so we could arrange to meet next time I go up for a maple old fashioned. Appreciate it. Anonymous really helps a lot. Just a girl, $9.99. I'm so worried. My son has been in jail for 1 year with 0 charges. Now he called me today to say they moved them to another building. I'm so worried. Unbelievable. Email us the story, Just a girl. I can't make any promises, but we want to hear about it. I'm sorry that your son has been in jail and they're with no charges. That's another thing. There's a whole lot of people in jail with no charges, just kept there. It's disgusting. So sorry to hear about what's going on with your son. Email us the details. All right. Thank you. You could keep GoFundMe. You could GoFundMe at any time. So don't think you have to stop just because we're stopping. And again, if anything breaks, we will come back live. Take care.
Thank you, guys.